So you're having trouble with your girlfriend, your bird, your relationship, and you're wondering, should I stay or should I go? Well, luckily for you, I've come up with a nice, simple equation that can help you make the correct decision. Should you leave your girlfriend? Now, this doesn't really apply to women as much. Should you leave your boyfriend? The reason for that is, well, this is quite a logical approach. And as we know, in relationships, women don't really use logic. That was a joke. Now, first of all, we have to work out the positives and the negatives. You can score this between 0 and 10 or 0 to 100. It's up to you. And also, how you really score the positives and negatives are up to you as well, because what I value in a relationship might be different to what you value in a relationship. Some people put a high emphasis on intimacy, and other people put like a high emphasis on communication or something like that, something boring like that. Anyway, then we have to look at X, the chances of improvement. What's the chances that the relationship is going to improve? What's the chances that it's going to go back to the good old days when you were happy? This is a percentage score between 0 and 1. And then we have to factor in B, the chances of finding better. What's the chances that you're actually going to find a better girlfriend? Now, with this, you have to automatically minus 20 from the percentage score. This is for the delusion factor. The thing is, right, men in relationships, they overestimate how attractive they are and they underestimate how difficult the dating market is. And also, if you're going through a rough patch, you might actually underestimate how good your girlfriend is. So for this, you have to minus 20 for the delusion score in this scenario. So now let's look at the equation itself. So first of all, we have to work out the net relationship value. This is like a normalized difference between the positives and the negatives. This will let you know whether the relationship is currently a net positive in your life or a net negative in your life. But that's not enough, of course. So what we need to go from there is we need to find out the weighted outcome score. Now, to do this, you get the net relationship value, RV, and you times it by 1 minus B, B being the chances of you finding better. And then, of course, you have to plus X, the chances of the relationship getting better. And this will give you a score roughly between 0 and 1 usually. Sometimes it can be above, sometimes it can be below. But in general, that's where it'll land. And with that, you can make the decision whether you should stay or leave. See, if the score is above 0.5, you stay, you stick it out. It's a decent relationship and it has good signs of improvement, right? If the score is between 0.2 and between 0.2 and 0.5, this is the caution zone, right? The caution zone, you have to monitor the relationship closely. Maybe you do this this equation again in a few weeks' time, and you see if the relationship is actually on an upwards trajectory or a downwards trajectory. But you have to monitor the relationship closely when you're in the caution zone. And then, of course, if the score is below 0.2, leave. The relationship's done. It has no signs of improvements, and it's just an awful drain on your life, right? So now we're going to just look at some examples of how this thing works. They're going to be fun. Stick with me. Okay, so the first example is a guy that really thinks he can do better, even though he's kind of in a good relationship. So as you can see, the positives are 8 and the negatives are 3. This results in a net positive. And then when you plug that in and you use his chances of finding better. So he thinks there's an 80% chance that he can actually find better, right? But then you have to minus 2 for the delusion factor. So this gives you a 60% chance of finding better. And then when you include the fact that maybe he's a bit pessimistic and he thinks there's only a 40% chance that the relationship will get better. But this, when you still do the math, it results in a score of 0.5818. This is in the stay. So in this scenario, the grass isn't always greener. So what? You think you can do better? You're in a decent relationship. Just stick it out for now. Maybe review it again in 6 months, okay? So that's example 1. So now let's look at example number 2. So now let's look at a more obvious example maybe, right? A bad relationship. But the guy doesn't think he can do better. he has a very low opinion of himself, right? So you have the positives are 3, the negatives are 7. The relationship is a net negative of 0.4 in his life, right? And when you plug that in, and the score I used for him, so he only thinks there's a 30% chance that he can do better. And he only thinks that there's a 30% chance that the relationship will improve. If you plug in these numbers, you get a result of minus 0.06. That's well below the leave zone. It's over. Sure, you don't think you can do better, but it's a negative on your life. It's a net negative on your life. And the signs of improving, they're not there. So that's an obvious one. But let's look at a more complicated one. So in this scenario, the relationship it's gone through a rough patch, The positives are 5, the negatives are 6. So currently the relationship is a net negative on this guy's life. He doesn't really think he can do better. He only thinks there's a 40% chance. So of course you minus the delusion factor, 0.2, 20% chance. It's low. But the thing is, because this is just a rough patch, the chances of getting the relationship improving are probably around 0.5. There's a 50-50 chance that the relationship will actually get better, right? In this scenario, you get a result of 0.4273. Right? As you can see, this is in the caution zone. So don't leave now. This is just something that you need to monitor. Are things going to get better or worse? You're going through a rough patch. Maybe there's financial issues or something like this. I don't know. But this can pass. You're in the caution zone, but this can pass. This isn't an automatic leave. So just stay for now. Maybe review and do this again in a couple of weeks' time, right? Okay. Is this fun? Okay, we're going to do one more, and it has an important thing that we need to mention. In this scenario, there's something I need to point out. See, if you have different future goals, and the big one, of course, is starting a family. Let's say you want to start a family, you want to have kids, but your girlfriend is adamant that she does not want to have children. This automatically increases the negatives to 10. It's an automatic 10. So yes, the positives are 7, things are looking good, but the negatives jump to 10 because you have differing future goals when it comes to like a family or something like this. This results in a net relationship value of minus 0.176 in this scenario. And then when you jump onto the other parts, the weighted outcome score, he's only 50% sure that he can actually find better, which of course is reduced to 0.3. And but this is the big one, right? He's only 0.3 sure, so 30% sure that things will get better. In this situation, he's only 30% sure. Now, you could judge it how you want, but generally, does he think that she maybe will change her mind in the future? He's not confident on that. He's only 30% confident that this is going to get better. Now, this results in a 0.1768. This is a leave. This is a leave situation, right? Sure, the relationship is good, but you really have differing future goals. And as you can see, this results in a leave. Now, it doesn't always result in a leave. Let's say this was 9 and the chances of improvement was higher. This would result in maybe a caution zone or a stay situation. But as you see, that is a big deal, right? So yeah, I quite like this. I think this works quite well. And maybe there's some factors or situations which I haven't accounted for. Maybe I could improve this equation somehow. Let me know if that is the case. But also, let's say you've just left a relationship and you're single again. Well, luckily I have something for you. Tenga. Yes. You can get 15% off if you use discount code Rory Paints. This will help you get through the lonely nights. So yeah.